Oh, wow. It's got like a little siren on it. Yeah, you can mute that, Hope. Thanks. Hey, welcome. Everyone doing okay? Yeah, cool. Everyone grab a cup of coffee. Do you guys like drinking coffee at 7 o'clock at night? No? Okay. Well, next time we'll have like hot chocolate or something. Yeah, you like? Okay, I like hot chocolate. Okay, so we have a lot to fit in for tonight, so we just want to jump right into it. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is the first ever family huddle we've ever done. So you are a part of some unprecedented territory in our student ministry. So I'm so grateful and really thankful that you guys are here. So I thought it would be really fun to start a new tradition for family huddles. I thought it would be really fun just to maybe break the ice, lighten the mood. You guys want to play a little game real quick? Let's play a game. I really like that. And it's not going to be adults versus adults. I even brought some Alivers down from upstairs. Matt, Luke, Leah, come on up. Let's give them a round of applause. And we're going to play a game called Generation Battles. Okay? We're going to have a little battle of the generations. Okay? We're going to see how much you guys know about them and how much they know about you. So you guys can stand right up here, okay? Will you introduce yourself real quick and where you go to school?
My name is Matthew LaPena. I go to Next High School.
I'm Leah Hurley. I go to GMC.
My name is Luke Black, and I go to Greer Middle College Charter High School.
Hold the place, just get fired up, woo. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to call 3 parents up here to do a little battle of the generations. Let's go with Middleton in the back. Yep, that's you. Come on up. Tim walked in. Come on up. And just because, Leo, come on up, Leo. I'll get him next month. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I want you to introduce yourself and who your wife is if she's here, if you're married.
I'm going to give you a pass, a mulligan, for not knowing that my last name is Mulligan, not Middleton.
Is Middleton here?
No.
Oh, you're a mulligan. This is why we're doing this, to connect. See? Connect, encourage, inform. Yeah, sorry, you're a mulligan. We met playing North Hill softball.
Yes.
Did you guys know we have a softball team? Yeah, exactly.
Champions.
We are champions. Well, I didn't show up this last season.
No.
Yeah.
We won without you.
It's sad. Okay, so we've got Joe, Tim, Leo, come on over here.
Jason Mulligan.
Jason, Frank, and Harry. Good. All right, point out who your wife is and who your kids are.
At this point, I don't know who my wife is.
All right, we'll come back to this guy. Who are you and who are your kids?
We are wondering, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah, that's what we need to know.
You'll learn that later.
Great. Okay, so Corey in the back, 30 years we've been married. It's awesome. And we have 3 kids. One is still here, Ben. What else do you want to know?
Yeah, what's your name?
I'm Tim.
It's a good name.
It is.
All right.
I'm Leo Allman. This is my wife, Laura, right here. Definitely the better half, I guarantee it. My daughter, Olivia, who's 10 years old, supposed to be somewhere, and they wouldn't let her in. And then my daughter, Heather Grace, sometimes called Andy because somebody called her that one day and she liked it. She's 16, 10-year-old, and then we have a 1-year-old little girl named Michaela.
Wow. Awesome. Good job. Okay, step on over here. You guys can come down here so the lights aren't in your eye. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask you guys some questions about their generation, and then we're going to let you guys answer some questions about theirs. Crowd participation is encouraged. You can shout it out if you want, but here's how the rules are going to work. So you can throw it up. Take turns asking the other generation questions. The group with the most correct answers at the end, you have the bragging rights. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so we're going to do a trial run. If you think, and your group can work together, okay, to come up. Yeah, well, and because, yes, but You can work together. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're going to ask you guys questions first about this generation. So let's just do a trial run. Throw it up, Hope. What game system is that?
That's a Nintendo Switch. It's Nintendo Switch.
Is it a Switch? All right, so throw it up. Yeah, it's a Nintendo Switch. Raise your hand if you actually knew that. Yeah? My friend Jason did not know that. He did not. Okay, so actually, I don't know if I want crowd participation anymore. All right, no more crowd participation. I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, let's keep moving. All right, this is for all the marbles. Hey, can I get someone, Abraham, will you help keep score? You work with numbers for a living, so that's perfect. Okay, let's throw up the next question. Oh yeah, what celebrity is that? You need to know this. Do you guys know? All right, don't tell me. All right, 3, 2, 1. What celebrity?
Cardi B.
Is it Cardi B? Oh, snap. I know, there was some cheating. There was some cheating. It's all right, we'll let it slide. We're a family. Raise your hand if you know who Cardi B is. Yeah, 4. Nice, Gregory. That's great. We'll give it to him. A half a point. All right, next one. All right, what show is this actress from?
We've watched this entire show.
You've watched the entire show?
I mean, this is our generation.
This is theirs.
This is our generation.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right, so what's the answer? 3, 2, 1.
Stranger Things.
No, what's the actress?
That's not what it says.
Oh, my bad. What show is this actress from? All right, what is it?
Stranger Things.
Is it Stranger Things? All right, good. Anyone ever watch Stranger Things? Yeah. It's weird. I don't like it. All right, give them the point. Next one. All right, in text messaging, HMU, IDC, and TBH are short for something. What are they short for? All right.
Hit me up. I don't care, and to be honest.
Oh, snap. Is that it? Wow. Does he text you like that? Yeah, he does. He's like, honey, to TBH. That's all right. Good job, Leo. Well done. All right, do we have another one? Nope. All right, now we're gonna swap it to where we're gonna ask them some questions about you guys. All right, face the audience. There you go. Thank you. Good. Leah, face this way. Good. All right, throw up the question. Who is that? Put your.
Is it a lady with too much spray tan?
A lady with too much spray tan. Leah said it. I didn't say it. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Don't say that.
I don't want to.
It's Goldie Hawn. There you go. Have you ever heard of Goldie Hawn? No. No, not at all. This might be really bad. All right, next. They don't get a point, Abe. All right, next one. What TV show is this? Yeah? You know it?
Oh, wait, I did know it. Magnum PI. Magnum PI.
Is it Magnum PI? Hey, high five. Good job. Yeah, hey, for extra points, what's the actor's name? I don't even know. Anyone know? All right. Sweet. And I made this game, and I still don't even know the guy's name. All right, next one. Who is this TV hunk? Is it hunk? A hunk. I know. Thank you. Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know? All right, what is it, guys? Scott Baio. Did you? Now you know. All right, there you go. Okay, next one. What brand is this jacket? Thank you. I was so proud of myself because I'm stuck in the weird middle of these two. Do you know? 3, 2.
You gave them all the time.
All right. Oh yeah, is it on there? Yeah, it's really small. 1, 3, 2.
Members only.
Members only? Leo! They get the point. All right, next one. Oh, are we switching it now? All right, now we're switching it. Back to you guys. Back to you guys out here. What are the names of 2 dances from Fortnite? Raise your hand if you know what Fortnite is. Yeah. Leo, extra points if you can do them on stage. Like, buku, like you win and you can just go sit down. Oh, no. You just missed it. Uh-oh. Wow. All right, they win. I'm just kidding. All right, can you name them? Nope. All right, throw it up. The floss. Actually, did you do the floss? You were doing the floss. Wow. I'm give him the point. That's it. Give him 2 points. That's really good. Wow. All right, next one. What is the actor's name who stars as Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming and Infinity War? What?
Tom Holland.
Is it Tom Holland? Yeah. Good job, Jason Mulligan. Jason Mulligan, everybody. Right there. All right, next one. What's the feature that alters Snapchat pictures? Snapback? That's a hat. You're getting close. Leah, did you say that's a weird question? Is that a weird question?
It is a weird question.
I tried my best. 3, 2, 1.
I have.
Throw it up. Right answer. Snapchat filters. There's filters. Anyone? Filters? Yeah? Corey in the back? The only one brave enough to put your hand in the air? Great. All right, next one. What do you call a humorous image, video, or piece of text that is spread around virally? Go ahead.
Meme. Meme.
Is it a meme? Yes, memes. No. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Do we have any more? All right, now we're going to throw it back over this way. Throw up the next one. What fast food company ran the commercial with the old lady yelling, "Where's the beef?"
Is it
Is
Big
it
Bun?
spam?
Is it what?
Is it spam?
Is it spam? Wendy's. You're close. Raise your hand if you knew that one. Yeah, of course. All right. Are you guys having fun over here? No. All right. Throw up the next one. According to the song by Tommy Two-Tone in 1982, what is Jenny's phone number? Shh. Guys, it goes. Come on. Why are you giggling? On the count of 3, ready? 8, 6. 7, 5, 3, That's great. All right, next one. He just said this isn't even fair. Professor, Marion, and Ginger could all be found on what TV show? Guys, come on. Gilligan's Island. Is it what?
It's wrong, isn't it?
She goes, is it the Love Boat?
What do you have? Did you say Gilligan's Island?
Yeah! Well done. Good job. All right. I think, is this our last one, Hope? Last one. What hairstyle is business in the front, party in the back?
It's a mullet.
Is it a mullet? That's achy breaky heart business right there. All right, give our contestants a round of applause. Oh yeah, do you know whose dad that was?
Yeah, that's Miley Cyrus's dad.
Oh snap, all right, yeah, Hannah Montana. Good job. All right guys, go back upstairs please. I need some senior presents upstairs and junior. Can we give our students another round of applause? Thanks guys, appreciate it. Okay, 2 things on your tables, and actually, Hope, I might need help getting to the tables that we didn't. We were only really preparing for 6 tables to be sat at. So this is really encouraging that there's more than we thought would be here. But hopefully at your table, or you can grab one that has a piece of paper, family huddle, info card that you can fill out for us. Would love for you to fill this out and then just leave it on your table. There's some pens over here. What, Cindy? Correct. Yeah. Info's always changing, and I know this because I tried half of you yesterday, and I got, who is this? This is Frank. Like, numbers are always changing. Yeah, raise your hand if you just got a text from me that said there. Everyone with your hand in the air, do you have an iPhone? That's what happened. The app that I was using to communicate didn't like anything that wasn't an iPhone, so I apologize for that. So fill out that parent card for us sometime tonight. That'll be really helpful. I'm going to show you guys a 1-minute video, okay? A 1-minute video, and I want you guys to watch this because this is really the heart behind these family huddles that we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. So turn your attention to the screens real quick.
Ever feel overwhelmed and alone as a parent? Then it's time for action. It's time to buddy up. One trait of spiritually healthy families is that they maintain nourishing friendships with other families. Now, this is a great idea. When your family is friends with other families, there's a tremendous amount of mutual benefit. From the practical stuff like shared meals and carpools and babysitting swaps, to the more emotional and spiritual stuff like shared struggles and prayers and victories. Life in community with others will help you stay the course. In fact, the Bible teaches us to live this way. The writer of Hebrews instructs us to not neglect regular time with other believers, but instead, intentionally get together to encourage, motivate, and spur each other on.
So that piece in there, intentionally get together, is really important. And that's going to be the heartbeat of these family huddles moving forward, is that intentionality of us getting together. And there's 3 words that I want us to remember when we think of huddles. The first one is to connect. And we're going to try and do that for us, the parents of middle and high school students, throughout the school year. And that might be connect by laughing at a silly game. It might be connecting with sitting with someone at the same table. And who knows what God can do through that. The relationships that can be birthed from that, the camaraderie that can come as a unity as parents of our teens, of our church. And I'm looking around this room. There's so many people in this room that I respect and that I love, and I know there's going to be others who are going to want to benefit from that. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So that video in 1 minute really kind of sums up the heartbeat of our huddle. So connect. The second piece is encourage. And so tonight, I thought I would bring in an outside voice. I think it's going to be really cool for us moving forward to kind of look outside the North Hills bubble. And the guy that I brought for us tonight is probably top 20 greatest guys I know in my life personally. You can throw his slide up, Pope. His name's Todd Devaney. He is the executive pastor and elder of operations and outreach. Wow, that's a lot, Todd. I don't even know what that means. But I will say there's a little bio of him right there, but I put his greatest achievement was that he was my high school principal over at Southside Christian School. Todd, how old were you when they hired you to be our principal? You were 28. Yeah, mercy. 28. And Todd was one of those guys that loved me unconditionally, and I was not easy to love. So I'm very thankful that his love was not conditional. So I thought it would be really cool to reach out to someone who I love. This has been a man that has sat with me and my wife when our marriage was kind of, well, it was awful, really. And we were sitting in your living room with your wife and Tina, and by God's grace, we were able to work through some stuff. And I just remember even as a kid just looking up to you, and it's always because you have just looked so much like Jesus in my life. So I wanted to ask Todd, I grew up at Fellowship Greenville. I don't know if you guys know that or not, so it's really cool to kind of reach out to my home church and say, hey, will you come serve our people? So I'm going to pray for us, and then Todd, I would love for you to come up and just kind of encourage us this evening. So God, we just want to thank you for this gathering. God, we just want to ask that you just speak through Todd to encourage us as we look to your word. God, that you would just use the next few minutes for us just to fix our gaze on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, and that would encourage us as parents, as spouses, as we leave here. By your grace, would you just put some fuel in our tank? Would you, God, just remind us of why we do what we do, and that our identity is not in anything else other than the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Like that is what defines us, is how much you love us. And so because of your love, then that's going to kind of shape the way we parent. It's going to shape the way that we view life. So thank you for Todd being here. I'm blessed by him having nothing to gain coming here, but knowing that we all have something to gain by just boasting in Jesus. And so we love you. We're thankful for this time. Amen. Let's welcome Todd.
Well, thanks for having me. Tim, I guess he didn't ask anybody if it was okay if I came, but I could tell you hours of stories of Tim Wadsworth, but I'll limit it to I'll start with one, and probably there'll be others that come out. But while I was principal, Tim I think he was a sophomore when I became principal at the school, and we always had this back and forth love-hate relationship. Usually I was hating him because he was driving me crazy. But he had this hat that he always wore. And, back in 2001, 2002, the hats in buildings was like, this didn't happen. So in school, Tim was not supposed to have a hat on. And so I would walk by Tim in the hall, and I would pick his hat up and walk back to my office and put it on my desk, and he'd come get it at the end of the day. And this kind of went on for months. Like, it would just, this kind of joking, but at some point I just was like, okay, I'm so tired of this. You are driving me crazy because you keep wearing your stupid hat in the building. Just don't bring it in the building, or it's mine forever. That was this kind of last thing. So 10 minutes later, maybe, walking down the hall, there's Tim with his hat on. So walk straight over to Tim, take the hat, walk back to my office, throw it in the trash can. I'm like, this is it, we're done. Throw it away, I don't care. We're done. So I leave my office. My assistant was sitting outside my office, and she loved the kids probably as much or more than I did, but we always had a great time with them. But Tim, because he loves Jesus and loves to serve, came in and talked my assistant into opening my office because he wanted to help by taking out my trash. So he talks her into taking the trash out for Principal Devaney because he's such a nice guy, and he wants to serve me. And the next day, I saw Tim walking around in that same hat, and I'm about to lose my mind. So that's just one example of my life with Tim Wadsworth. So when Tim Wadsworth calls me and says, hey, can we grab lunch? It's a privilege to see these kids that I was blessed to have relationships with when they were in high school, to now see what God's done in their lives, see them have kids and wives and families, and how they're investing in the next generation it's the greatest blessing of my years as a principal and now a pastor. So thanks for letting me come. So Tim called me back in, December sometime and said, hey, would you come to share with our parents? And I was like, what in the world do you want me to share with your parents? And he's like, well, just share something. Okay, great, I'll share something. So here's my disclaimer. He asked me to talk about raising teens or having teenagers, and I'll just kind of out it. I have 3 children. I have a almost 21-year-old, almost 18-year-old, and a 15-year-old. My 2 girls are on the outside. My son's in the middle. I'm a blessed dad, but I'm not a perfect dad by any stretch of the imagination. And so my disclaimer tonight is this: I'm not an expert. I'm not perfect. I'm just a regular sinner saved by grace, praying that my kids will fall in love with Jesus. Ultimately, that's all I can beg God for, is that my kids would love Jesus as much as I do, as much as my wife does, and as much as people I had the privilege of watching grow up like Tim Wadsworth does. And so my great desire for my children is that they would walk in truth. But here's some things that I've learned over the years that may help you and may not help you, but this is kind of from my own experience, and that's kind of what I was asked to share from. But I would say that I'm very blessed. I have 3 really great kids, but here's what I would tell you about my kids. I have 3 very different kids. Okay, my oldest is almost 21. She has moderate to mild to moderate hearing loss in both ears. When she was in first grade, she was diagnosed with a hearing loss so severe that she would never hear normally, and only by the grace of God and hearing aids does she actually able to hear. And in first grade, when that happened, I had no idea what that meant for the next 20 years. I had no clue. The difficulty for a young girl that had to deal with what people would think and what people would say, and people that would ask a million questions about what's on your ear and why can't you hear, you got to look at people. I mean, just the questions that would come. I had no clue. I was praising God that she had the ability with hearing aids to actually hear. And I thought that was it. That would be done. Like, it'd be great. And what I realized was it was great for me, but I wasn't living that. That wasn't my story. This is her story. And God was doing something in her at that early age that was going to take a long time to unfold and a long time to unpack. And that was met with all kinds of things. But she's probably more like her dad than my other 2 kids. She's pretty strong-willed. She's pretty aggressive, go-getter, take charge, very good athlete, plays college sports. And then I have my son, who's a lot like my wife's personality, very reserved, pretty laid back. He's very quiet, but he's 6'3", 6'4", is obsessed with health and nutrition. And I'm like, no 18-year-old. He's like, he gets mortified if his sisters eat chocolate and doesn't know why they would do that to themselves. And I'm like, who are you and where did you come from? Like, I don't know what to do with this. But that's God's done that somehow in his wiring, and that's the thing that one of the things that he's really passionate about. So, we're trying to figure that out. He plays sports and loves to hunt and fish, and we do a lot of fun things like that together. And then my third child, Ashlyn, is 15 years old, and she has more personality than my other 2 kids put together, and my wife and I probably. Like the 4 of us, she has more personality than all of us combined. She fills the room when she walks in the room. And it has been like fascinating and glorious to watch, and like, I don't even know what to do with you. Like, I can't help you. Like, there's nothing I can do to parent you. It's just, she's so different. But I tell you that a little bit about each one of them for this reason. I actually sat my kids down today and said, hey, if I was going to share with parents about parenting, what would you want me to tell them? What would you want parents to know about your dad's parenting and how good or bad it is? And they were all great and very kind. But a couple of things, and I'm going to mix in some of the things they shared with some of my thoughts for the night. But one of the things that I'm growing in is this realization that I have to figure out in parenting, how do I parent with my eye on where I want to get us to and them, and an eye on where we are today. Like, I have this desire that I finish parenting well, which I'm not sure when that happens, because I talk to people that have grown kids, and now they're telling me it's worse now than when they were teenagers, and I'm not really sure what to do with that, because I think I'm getting close to kind of moving past this, but now I'm starting to worry that it never ends. And I think I'm not a hard child for my parents, but maybe I'm harder for my parents than I realize, so I don't know. But nonetheless, I'm trying to keep an eye on where I want to get to. Like, what ultimately, what do I hope for? I hope my kids fall in love with Jesus and that we have a great relationship. If I could boil it down to those two things, if they love Jesus and we still love each other, then I'm like, okay, we succeeded in parenting. Like, it's that simple for me. But in the crucible of those years, when we're living together and they're under my roof and I'm the authority and all those kinds of things, where do you, like, navigating all those places of, what do I do with this today? Because my son didn't come home when he was supposed to be home at curfew. Or my daughter, was skipping class at school because she was just hanging out with friends again. Like, all those things, that's real life that you got to navigate in the midst of it. And so that's why I use this idea of, I got to keep my eye on the ball today with an eye towards the future of where I want to get to. And the truth is, I don't know how to do that perfectly. I know what's working for me, at least to this point in time, and hopefully, by God's grace, I'll see it to the other side. The other piece that goes along with that is, I think, is if you have multiple kids, you can't parent every kid the same. And that was probably the hardest thing that I had to learn, because I thought when my first one got to teenage years, I'm like, okay, we're going to figure this out now, and then we're just going to pass it on to the next one, and then we're going to pass it on to the next one, and this is going to work. And it doesn't. Their personalities are different. The way they think about life is different. The things they're interested in is different. Like, everything is different, every child. And I kind of known this, I used to tell people when I was the principal, and they would come in and they would interview, and one of the things I always said to every family was, Southside Christian School is not for every child. I just always believed that from an educational perspective, that it was a good fit for some, but it wasn't a good fit for all. And so I guess I've kind of adopted that into my parenting. Like, the things I've done with my oldest, Kaylin, she and I have this intense, pretty argumentative relationship, and it gets heated and it gets intense in our home when she and I are going at it, but I can't do that with my other two at all. They don't respond to that, but she does. And it's, some of you are going, oh, what would that look like? Well, it's not pretty sometimes, I'll just be honest with you. But it's worked. She and I have a beautiful relationship today that I would have never dreamed in some of those teenage, high school years when I was like, man, I used to beg God, please let us like each other when this is over. I wasn't sure, because we would go at it. I've been coaching kids for about 20 years in different sports, and I have huge passions about what it means to be part of a team and how you support the team, and it's not about the individual, and all these things that I've learned in my life that I want to instill in the kids I coach. And I would watch my daughter be not that, and it would drive me crazy. Like, you can't, it's not about you. It doesn't matter how well you play. It doesn't, all this stuff, and it's about the team, and da-da-da-da-da. And we would have these crazy knockdown, drag-out, wild experiences. But God used that in my life, but she also used it in her life to shape her. And she's a college athlete, and she's been through incredibly difficult things at the college level with coaches that, believe it or not, some of the stuff that she and I navigated was part of that preparation that we didn't know at the time was part of what was going to happen, but it was part of her preparation and part of her growth. And now she plays softball at Columbia International University now, and one of the cool things about her story and her journey is that God's taking her to Israel for the third summer in a row to work with the Israeli national softball team, which I'm like, who does that? But God has orchestrated and navigated her story. She's passionate about Jesus and using the gospel to build relationships with Israeli nationals in their context, and she's going for 9 weeks this summer to help run clinics and build relationships with these women. and share the gospel. And I'm like, well, that's really amazing and cool, and yay, God. And the beautiful thing for me is we have an amazing relationship to talk about that and enjoy that, because the relationship was, we persevered on the relationship side during those difficult years. And so I say, do it differently. And she was, every child is different. So my son, I have my two girls. My youngest girl has not dated anybody because she's not old enough to date. She may never be at the rate we're going, but it's another story. My older daughter, she never wanted to date anybody. She just wanted to play sports, so that was really easy. Well, then my son came along, and he's he's 6'3", has great hair, and everybody thinks it's great. And my wife's had people talk to her and say, "Man, your son, he's really cute." And it's like, that's a little weird, but it's, what it is. And so he's had a girlfriend, and that's had a whole nother world of challenges that we didn't have before. And so he has about 3 friends in his life because he's very introverted, and he doesn't want to have a lot of friends. So he's got a couple friends at school and one at church, and that's good for him. He doesn't ever want to have people over. He doesn't really go to anybody else's house other than his girlfriend's now. And it's like, okay, that's great, but you're always here. Like, don't you need to go do something somewhere? Like, you actually start to go, is this normal? Like, do you need to go somewhere? Like, and so that's just this different thing. But, I talked to my wife who, we've been married 25 years this June, and she's very much like that. She could stay home. She's great with being at home. And I'm like, do we need to go somewhere? Like, maybe we should go somewhere. And she's like, well, you go. I'll stay home. That'll be fine. I'll just stay home. You can go do, something with your friends. And that's just the variety. But parenting him has been a completely different experience than parenting my oldest child. And he and I've had our own challenges. Like curfew for him has been a nightmare. And I mean, it's like, but he doesn't respond the same way as my older daughter. When she and I would have this intense face-to-face conversation and we would deal with it, that doesn't work for him. He walks in the door late, give me your phone, give me your keys, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And that's it. We don't talk about anything else. I go to bed, and we'll talk about it when everything's going to be settled, because he can't have the conversation intensely with me. That doesn't go well for him. And I've had to learn that sometimes just because I want resolution yesterday doesn't mean that that's what everybody else needs. I like conflict. I like to create conflict. So sometimes I'll just make conflict for the sake of having conflict, because then we can solve conflict, right? But that doesn't work really well with most other personality types, including my wife. So she's like, if we never have conflict, that'll be fine. And I'm like, well, that's boring. We should at least argue about something. True story, a lady at work at the office at church, she was new to staff, and we were managing through some tension and conflict, and she sat in my office and was talking about this situation, and I said to her, I said, sometimes you just have to create conflict in order to get things where you want them to go. And she looked at me and said, "You're serious, aren't you?" I said, "Oh, absolutely. Like, we should, every now and then we just gotta have a little tension and work through it, and it's good for everybody on the other end." And she was like, "I feel for your wife." I was like, well, you can pray for her. That would probably be good. But then there's my third, and to the conflict thing, my third daughter, she's 15, and she is the life of the party. Big personality, tons of fun, and the thought of conflict, just the thought of it. If she thinks there's going to be conflict, she leaves the room. So, Hallmark movies, Christmas Hallmark movies, right? So one of the things about movies that all of you know is there's this tension that has to happen in every movie in order for there to be a resolution at the end to make it worthwhile. Well, I've realized a couple years ago that we would be watching these movies, and she would leave. She would just walk out of the room. I'm like, why does she keep leaving? Like, it's kept happening over and over again. And I'm like, what? This is weird. Like, where are you going? And she just kind of, goes to the bathroom, whatever, and all of a sudden she plops right back down on the couch as soon as that's over, and then she moves, and then we move into the rest of the movie, and it kind of works itself out, and life is great. I'm like, that finally dawned on me. I told my wife, I said, all right, we got to watch this because every time the conflict comes, she leaves the room. She doesn't want to have it. She doesn't want to know how the conflict happens. She just wants to see how the conflict gets resolved. Sure enough, started watching it, and then I started stopping her. I'm like, nope, sit down. You're going to experience conflict. This is good for you. So, and it's TV. It's not real, so it's not between me and you, so this is better than me and you having conflict. So I started making her sit through this, and she'd be just like under the pillow and under the blanket, and I'm like, babe, the movie can't finish if we don't have this very predictable conflict in a Hallmark movie that's going to happen. So, it's not like it's, unpredictable. So anyhow, but that's the difference. So my kids, they're all over the place. And so one of the things that they actually said to me today was, Dad, just tell them that you haven't been able to do the same thing with any of us. And I said, well, that is 100% true, because they're all different. So if I could really give you a couple pieces of advice, I would say, learn each one of your kids as individuals and parent each one of your kids as individuals. And I didn't know that, but I figured I somehow stumbled upon that by God's grace and the influence of so many other things in my life that God allowed me to see and understand that I had to figure out how to lead my kids individually because they weren't the same and they didn't like the same things and they didn't relate to me the same way. And so that's one of the big things that I've learned. My son said this, and I thought this was kind of funny. He said, tell them that it's a partnership and not a dictatorship. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And, he's almost 18, and he probably can kick my butt now because he's, works out and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, he and I have this really sweet relationship, and I do think it's a partnership, and it's moving towards a friendship. It's not there now. He's 18. I still have to be the not fun guy from time to time, and I have to say no, and I can't let him do everything, blah, blah, blah. But I do see as he's grown, and it's happened with all my kids, that there's a shift that takes place somewhere, late high school, early college maybe is what I'm experiencing, at least with my second one again. There's a shift that takes place if you navigate the super hard stuff that sometimes comes during those maybe middle teen years. There's a relationship on the other side that was worth fighting for. And that's been my experience so far with my first two. And I'm nervous about my third one, that we're going to get there. But God's been faithful and believe he'll continue to be faithful in it. But she's sweet and beautiful, but she challenges me. So, and then the last thing I would share with you is, if you're married and you have kids, your marriage is the most incredible gift that you can give your kids. That you love your spouse, that you love each other, and that they see and experience what that is like in your home. And that's probably it's probably the greatest gift you can give your kids outside of Jesus. But all the other stuff is a part of that. But the marriage, seeing you and your wife or you and your husband work together and navigate conflict and love each other in spite of all the stuff that's going on, is probably one of the best gifts that you can give your kids. And then I'm just going to read a verse, and then Tim asked me if I would do some Q&A, and so I'll be happy to, if you have questions, answer them again. I'm not an expert, but Ephesians chapter 6, I have to change glasses because I'm old. Sorry. Ephesians chapter 6, I was thinking about this afternoon, and I was talking to my kids. 6:4 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord." And we could talk about that for a long time. But at the end of the day, for me, it came back to this one piece. I want my kids to love Jesus, and I want to have a relationship with them after maybe the difficult parenting years, if there is such a thing. But at least get through the teenage years and have a relationship with my kids. And I think to do that, I have to be aware. How well do I know my kids? Do I know them well enough not to provoke this one the way they get provoked, and not provoke this one the way they get provoked, and not provoke this one the way they get provoked? And that to me is the greatest challenge for me as a dad, is that they are all different. And that if I'm not going to provoke them to anger, then I have to be able to speak to them differently and as individuals, not just the collective, this is how I'd like to do things. And so I'll leave you with that. If you have questions, I'd be happy to take questions. If you have anything else you'd like me to tell about you, I'd be glad to share more stories about the Tim Wadsworth years. More Wadsworth stories. Okay, I'll give you one more. So I was the baseball coach at Southside, and we get on the bus. Okay, this is pre-cell phones. So, we didn't have cell phones back then. Everybody didn't have a cell phone back then. So we get on the bus to leave to go somewhere. I don't know where we were playing, but we get on the bus, and I don't know at what point during the bus ride, it come to find out Tim wasn't supposed to be traveling on the baseball team that day. But Tim was on the bus after we were like halfway to wherever we were going. And I'm like, good gracious. Like, you can't just sneak on the bus. Like, what am I going to do? And I told him today when we were talking about this earlier, I said, I couldn't just pick up the phone and call your mom. Like those days, now that would be an easy solution. Back then, that was not, you couldn't just call his mom. And he's like, oh, my mom's fine. It's going to be great. She's going to love it. I'm with the baseball team. So yeah, he sneaks on the bus. All of a sudden and I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. And that's been my life with Tim. But the funny thing is, team manager. Yeah, we just made him part of the team at that point. Just be with us all the time. At least if he was with me and supposed to be with me, I knew where he was. And that was actually part of the problem sometimes too, was I didn't know where he was or what he was doing. You just lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say. Questions? You wanted me to take questions. Can I answer any questions? Can Tim answer any of your questions? I really do, yes. So how did you balance teaching your kids to love Jesus without pushing that versus giving them space to develop that? That's a great question. And this has been hard as a pastor in a church, I'll say. My son has never been to youth ministry at our church. And I've struggled with that for a lot of years. And he's finishing his junior year. I would say never. It's not like he's never been to an event, but he does not go with any regularity. And the biggest thing I had to navigate with him is he does not like crowds. He doesn't like, don't take this the wrong way, but he doesn't like the goofiness of stuff that sometimes, the games and stuff like that in youth ministry, he just doesn't care for that stuff. He's a pretty focused, pretty serious kid. And so when he was entering high school, and this was a huge concern for me because I'm like, I don't know how we're going to, navigate this. God just gave me this idea. I don't know how else to describe it other than, and one of the big things that was going on at Fellowship Greenville in student ministry at the time and still is today is they meet in these mentor groups, and they have small groups with other adults or older teenagers, depending on the age that they're in, and they do small group activities together. And so one day, God just gave me a couple guys, and I just said, well, here's the deal. If you're not going to go on Sunday nights, you're going to have to meet with some older guys, on a regular basis so that you are getting mentoring, because you're not going to be able to get that just from me. And so I felt like that was a gift the Lord gave me for him in that particular season. And I would say that at that time, that was a real big stretch for him because he had to go, we kind of agreed on a list of a few guys that I kind of thought might be okay. And then he had to reach out to them, and he had to pursue them, and I had talked to them and kind of let them know what was going on, but I said, I really want him to pursue you, so don't make this, overly easy for him. This needs to be challenging and difficult for him, but then if he does and if he pursues, I'm just asking you to don't hold back. Just give them whatever God gives you to give them. Don't hold back. And in those early years, I would say for him at 9th grade, he was on the fence of where he was going to go with his faith. I mean, he was kind of into, I thought he was listening to some crazy, weird music that I was like, I don't even know what that is. And they were showing stuff on the screen. I still don't know what that stuff was. But, I mean, I was just really concerned. And I watched that decision actually push him towards God. And the deal we had was we go to church as a family on Sundays. So you have to sit with us in church, and you have to get mentored. That was the arrangement that we worked out. But again, I think it's different for everybody. My youngest loves the environment of our student ministry, and so I'm watching her faith grow a little bit differently and more. I don't know what the word is. She's they have all the games and stuff in student ministries, and she's like the one that's always up there doing them. And I'm like,